What's up, guys? It's Jacob from TCG Buzz with something really cool. I got my top 8 Thunder Empire deck from Buddyfight Springfest in Chicago. It was really a fun event, and we did get top 8, so I thought I'd show you guys the deck I played. And yes, I played Thunder Empire. You can find out why I played Thunder Empire in our discussion video. The other thing, make sure you check out Christian and Dalton's deck profiles because it was Team League, so all 3 of us have top 8 decks you should check out. So we're going to get started. All right, guys. So like I said, I'm playing Thunder Empire. Here's my flag, a nice SP flag that I pulled. So fun fact for you, though, this is actually Christian's deck that I played, but it was customized to my needs. So it was very much my own build of it, but he lent me the cards and the skeleton of the deck. So this is a nice Thunder Emperor's Fangs flag. If you don't know, you can use Thunder Empire cards. You start with 11 life, 1 gauge, and get to start the game with 7 cards in your hand, which is kind of ridiculous. Here's my buddy. We'll get into his skills when we get to him. All right, so we're going to go into the main deck now. We're going to go with monsters first from highest size to least, which means we are starting with probably my favorite card in the entire deck, Satsuki G. So, really, I had 2 choices for this deck. I could play with a more standard style Thunder Empire build with normal items, or I could try out Satsuki as my primary weapon, and I decided to go that route. And turns out, it was the right decision. I think the Satsuki variant of the build, which is basically what I built here, which you'll see the rest of the cards, is the best build for Thunder Empire. So we've got 4 copies of Satsuki here. And if you don't know, here's how Satsuki works. Satsuki's a size 5. It's got 5,000 defense, 3 critical, 12,000 power. You can station for 3 gauge. And it has penetrate and soul guard. So it'll be sitting there as an item with souls. When you play it, you put the top 4 cards of your deck into its soul. And then when you station it, you can choose 2 cards from your 2 monsters from your drop and also add them to the soul. So it's going to be sitting there with lots and lots of souls, and it's got soul guard, so your opponent's not getting rid of it. They'd have to destroy it 6-7 times to get rid of it, which is cool because, it's a pretty powerful item as it is. But the real nice part about it is it also has one of your alternate win cons. It has its own Overturn. So it's Overturn, you discard a card from your hand, and for that battle phase, you can call as many monsters as you would like from its soul, but all of their abilities are negated. So that's fine. Usually you'll use this just to end a game. You've got, say, 4 monsters in the soul with 1 to 2 crit, and your opponent's at 3 life. You go, I activate Satsuki's Overturn, call this, attack for 2, call this, attack for 2. Satsuki wins games. The next card we have up is our single size 3 in the deck. This is the Hextuple Attack Overthrow Bots. It is actually at 1 copy, which might sound weird, but the reason it's only at 1 copy is because I'm only running 1 other bots in the deck. So you're not going to hit this off very often. And as a positive, though, there are some really cheesy ways you can get it out besides calling it normally. You've got a card in the deck that will revive it from drop, and you also have Satsuki, who you can actually call it with Satsuki's skill, play it to the field, and you're not going to get its overthrow that turn, but you can keep it on the field, protect it, and use it the next turn. Alternatively, it just becomes a pressure unit because your opponent definitely wants to get rid of it, because attacking 6 times with a single monster is very scary. Next, we're going into our size 2 lineup with 4 of Corpse Bots. So Corpse Bots, it has 2 crit with 13,000 power and 6,000 defense. He costs 2 gauge to call. He can't be destroyed during your turn, just like pretty much all other bots. And then he has double attack natively. And then if you have 3 or more different world names in your drop, he gains triple attack. And then he has his own Overturn. You can discard a card during the attack phase and give him +1 critical for each different world in your drop zone. So typically you're going to get, by the time you're ready to use this, it'll be a +5 on average. The highest I've got to do is +7, and I'm pretty sure that's how the deck maxes. Okay, next card we have we have Jackknife. 2 Jackknives. Jackknife is a really stellar card. He's one of my favorite alternate cards in the deck for an Overturn. He's not that aggressive, which is why he's only at 2, but what he excels in is control because of his Overturn. So he costs a gauge to call, put a card from your drop into his soul, and his big thing, though, is his Overturn. His Overturn, you got a card in his soul, you put that card into the drop, and you can nullify your opponent's call or cast. It's just so good. Particularly, that really hurts big wall decks, or, I used it very successfully against Prism Dragons, or say your opponent in the mirror is about to slam down that Hex double attack. You go, no Hex double attack bots for you. All right, next card we have 2 copies of Asmodai. So Asmodai was a decent pick. In hindsight, I might have switched him out for another Hex double attack and another Jack. But he's a decent alternative win con because his Overturn for just a gauge cost gives a card on the field ridiculous power buffs. They get the +3, the +3, +3, and penetrate and counterattack. He can be used offensively or defensively. He's just kind of a joy of a card to play. And plus, I like Asmodai. I don't know if you know that, but I really like Asmodai. Next up, we have that buddy right there. I always forget this guy's name. Operative Sphere. So when he enters the field, if you have 2 or more different world names on your field, not hard to do. You get your Dragon Emperor Legends. You gain a gauge, gain a life, and draw a card. It's just part of your resource engine. It's solid. Next, we have 4 copies of Globes. Globes has 2 skills. Skill number 1, when another Thunder Empire enters your field, you get to gauge and draw, so just keeping that advantage engine going. So you can call him, call this, and you're getting ridiculous skills off. And then his second skill, when he attacks, you can choose a card on your field and give it +1 crit. Nice and simple. Next, we have 4 copies of, what's its name? Connect Ninja Tomonoshin. I'm sorry. 4 copies of this guy. So his skill is similar to Globes. It's an on enter, but not for him. It's when something else enters your field. You get to check the top 3, choose a Thunder Empire, and put it into your hand. So you can top deck some really good cards with this skill, which is why he's at 4. Plus, he's a Kachina World card, which is a huge benefit to the deck. Next, we have 1 copy of Wiebly the Phantasmagoric. This guy. So he's got 2 skills. They're not too bad. If you have 3 or more different world names, this guy gets +1 crit. Not that effective usually, but sometimes that 1 extra crit is all you need. But his second skill is just great. When he enters the field, you get to choose any Thunder Empire monster from your deck, put it into your drop, and then he becomes that world as well as his original world, which is very beneficial to the deck, especially when you need that second world for calling out your buddy or for a particularly amazing spell card that will be shown off later. Plus, you can get things into your drop to help with setup for later. Next, we have 1 copy of Takosuke. You know why Takosuke is in here? It's just because he's a Hero World card. And I wanted at least 1 extra card I could use for an item, and I decided to pick him for his typing and his skill to look at the opponent's hand and guess if they've got a monster or spell to give him bonuses. Can be very beneficial occasionally, so that's why he's in here at 1 copy. Next, we have 4 copies of my very nice Sand Castle. So this card is a set card, and all Thunder Empire on your field cannot be returned to hand by your opponent's effects. This is absolutely important to the deck because bounce is a very big weakness for Thunder Empire, particularly for your bots. You don't want your bots to have Overturn and have his 8 crit or whatever and get bounced back to hand. That sucks. So second skill, though, counter. During your opponent's turn, if you have 2 or more different world names in your drop, on your field, You may put this card into the drop, and then you get to reduce any damage by 3. So it's nice as a offense, and not offense necessarily, but control card, because it can, or I guess setup. It's good as a setup card because you can get it out onto the field to help plus for extra worlds. It's good in your drop because it counts as a Darkness Dragon World card, which is a huge benefit. It prevents things from being bounced, and it can save your life in a pinch. Next, we have 4 copies of my favorite Nullify in the game right now. This is Jupiter Barrier. Jupiter Barrier nullifies an attack if it's a direct attack to you, and then you may choose to put a soul from a card on your field into the drop. Hint, hint, Satsuki. Or possibly Jackknife, I guess. Those are the only 2 targets, but it's primarily with Satsuki, because Satsuki's got plenty of soul to spare. And then if you do, you gauge life and draw. So it can just keep your advantage going, even on your opponent's turn. And I've top decked into extra nullifies or defensive cards, and it has saved my bacon more than once. Next, we have 3 copies of Red Thunder Emperor's Awakening. This card was actually really challenging for me to get 3 copies of for the tournament. I had to actually go and buy some right before the event started, which was kind of stressful. We opened a case, and we only pulled 1. Oops. So you gain a life and a gauge when you cast it. Then if you have 3 or more different world names in drop, you get to choose a card from your drop and put it back in your hand. Then if you have 6 or more, you get to draw an additional card. Believe it or not, it's a very great card, but it's kind of slow to get those extra skills off. But when it hits, it's wonderful. I'm surprised, though, at how many times I actually ended up using it when I had nothing in drop, just because I'm like, I need 1 more gauge for my stupid combos. Next, we have 3 copies of Loud Noise. Counter, discard as many cards from your hand as you'd like, and your opponent's cards get -3/-3 for every card discarded. So good. It's a great card because Thunder Empire usually has lots and lots of cards in the hand, so you can drop that, drop a couple cards, and shut down your opponent's entire turn. Next, we have 3 copies of this fabulous card. We have Demon Lord's Roaring Dragon Blast. Pay 2 gauge. Destroy all monsters in your opponent's field. Really good against Chaos, just saying. And then draw cards equal to the number of cards you destroyed. So some games you're not going to need this card. Some games it'll be the best card in your deck. But it's always just, I don't need it right now. Charge. I'll draw 1 later. Next card. Oh, Fighter's Oath. Such a brilliant card and such a bad card for the game. Just being honest, but hey. So this card, you cast it and you gain life and gauge equal to the number of different worlds on your field. So usually, like, the average number is 3, so you're getting +3 gauge, +3 life, which is dumb. But I can get it up to like 5, which is dumb. +5 gauge, +5 life for free. It's dumb. It's dumb, and I love it. And it sets up, I mean, if you're able to get a bots out on field and your Satsuki out on field turn 1, I mean, your opponent should really just scoop. Next, we have 2 copies of In the Name of Thunder Empire. This is a great card. Pay 2 life. You gain so much life in this deck, it doesn't matter, and you start with 11, so it's not really much of a worry. Choose 2 Thunder Empire monsters from your drop and call them by paying their call cost. Nice and simple. I like it. It's really good late game. And then we have a single copy of, oh boy, World Linking Key the First, Dragoroyale. You guys pronounce it however you want. So this card basically saves your bacon, but you only want 1 of it because it's very situational. But in the late game, you can drop it. For that turn, you can't die, and then you get to draw 6 cards. But at the end of your next turn, if you have not won by then, you instantly lose. So it's a really risky card, but it has some huge payoffs when it works, which is why it's at 1 copy. Then, let's be honest. The most important part of a competitive deck is your sideboard. And I'm a big fan of really powerful, really good sideboards. And this is one of the best I've ever built. So we have 2 copies of Miseria. If you don't know how Miseria works, it's just a board wipe. You activate its Overturn, you reset the entire board except for himself. And there are very, very few cards in the game that can prevent his skill from proccing. It's stupid good when your opponent has just a full field playing auto deities maybe, or I had a really good time with this against Knights and Prism Dragons, and it gets work done. Next, we have 2 copies of Vagrant Dragon Word. I'm not even going to try. So this card, you gain a gauge, and then if you hit his proc, you get to bounce something back to hand when he enters the field. Nice, solid skill. It has some utility. I like it. Bump the camera. Then we have the spiciest sideboard card in their entire lineup. This card is so fun. Sorry, Speed Robo. I'm sorry. So this is 2 copies of Spark Gallows. Spark Gallows, pay a life. When he enters the field, you get to choose all of your opponent's size 3 or less monsters and move them to different spots on their field. I said sorry, Speed Robo, because he and I played together. If you don't know who he is, he's on YouTube. Check out his channel. He's cool. And he was playing a Water Skull Warrior deck, and he had his Namaste on center. You do not want Namaste to die if you're playing against it. Slap that down, move his Namaste to the left, swing, 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 swing for game. And it also has Shadow Dive. I don't think I've ever used it for Shadow Dive. Shadow Dive's neat, but it's the first skill that sells me on the card. Then we have 2 copies. All the cards in the sideboard are 2 copies of Demon Slay Battle Aura Bind. So this card, pay 1 life. Counter, rest a card on your opponent's field with critical equal or less than or equal to, the critical of your item. So my Satsuki is 3, so boom, rest your 3. Boom, rest your 3. The other benefit to this card is it is a Danger World card, and it's the only Danger World card possible for the deck, so I did have one game where I had one in drop, and it was able to get me to the maximum number of crit for my Botz's Overturn, which was fun. And the last card we have here is Sorcery Barrier Device. So 1, damage dealt to you other than by attacks is reduced by 1. Well, let's be honest, this card just completely shuts down Prism Dragons. Like, they've got nothing. That's it. We're done. Scoop your deck. We're done. And then second skill, abilities of all cards on your field cannot be nullified by your opponent's card effects. In this particular tournament, that skill did not become useful to me. I never needed it, but you certainly could in certain matchups. You know, if someone is deciding to play Stars or you're playing against a Neo Dragon deck, there's a good chance they might have some nullifies. So that is actually it for my deck. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to check out the other deck profiles we've done. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, 1K, yes, please, oh yes. And make sure to hit us up on Discord. Our Discord's pretty great, talk to us there. And of course our Instagram, we post a lot of really, really stupid stuff on our Instagram during the event. You can see us even standing up on stage when we got top 8, that's pretty cool. So that is it for me today. I'll see you guys next time.